Finally, last in the series of werewolf movies that came out in 1981 is the lesser-known and almost all but forgotten movie, Full Moon High. I'll warn you now, this episode will be a bit shorter. There's honestly not a lot out there on this movie. What this film does have is a lot of talent. It's kind of staggering. There's a lot of crossover between this movie and late 70s to early 80s television. From Happy Days, we get Pat Morita and Roz Kelly. We even get an early look at Adam Arkin before he'd move off to so many other things, like Chicago Hope, or even popping up in Halloween H2O.
I've lost 3 girls to smooth-talking musicians. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not a very smooth talker, and I'm not much of a musician either.
Now, I'm gonna punch you out as a lesson to all musicians. Meet me at the bird bath in 5 minutes.
I don't even know where the bird bath is.
Ask a pigeon.
His father, Alan Arkin, the Oscar winner from Little Miss Sunshine, also makes an appearance. Other notable television personalities of the time: Ed McMahon from The Tonight Show, Jim J. Bullock from Too Close for Comfort, and Grady DeMond Wilson from Sanford & Son. Bob Saget even shows up for a couple scenes. Academy Award nominee for A Patch of Blue, Mary Elizabeth Hartman, makes an appearance, as does Kenneth Mars, the voice of King Triton in The Little Mermaid, as well as the police inspector in Young Frankenstein.
I don't think my class likes me at all.
Well, we mustn't be frightened of our students.
I try to explain to my pupils that flogging is not permitted in schools today, but they keep right on hitting me.
Behind the scenes, we're still deep in talent. Steve Neal, introduced to Hollywood by Rick Baker, does his best but what had to be an extremely limited budget. The effects here have a low-budget kind of charm to them. Fun trivia note about Steve: one of his first jobs was creating Spock's ears in Star Trek The Motion Picture. He also worked on Fright Night and Ghostbusters. And of course, Full Moon High is written, directed, and produced by legend Larry Cohen, who we know from It's Alive, It Lives Again, The Stuff, Q, The Winged Serpent, Return to Salem's Lot, and the screenwriter on Maniac Cop, Phone Booth, and Cellular. Like I said, talent galore. Plot-wise, it's just your normal story about a star quarterback that gets drawn into a plot to gather some microfiche by his secret agent father, played by Ed McMahon. They head to Eastern Europe, Romania, and while his father is busy spying and boinking sex workers,
my home is America. It's a wonderful country. You'd love it. It's the bastion of democracy and freedom. As a matter of fact, you 2 lovely ladies in America would be free to walk the streets at night. And you certainly would.
Tony meets a woman who reads his palm, an obvious nod to the Wolfman, and, well, she has some warnings for him.
Well, be my guest. Get engrossed.
That's an interesting hand. Let's see the next one. Shit.
What do you see?
Oh, shit.
Well, wait a minute. How does that translate into English? Have I got a short lifeline or what?
You will live forever.
Hey, now come on, folks. Let's not get carried away here, huh?
You will always remain young, never to age.
Does that mean I will never be able to order a drink?
You carry the curse of the pentagram.
I've always wanted to go to the Pentagon.
Pentagram, stupid.
Oh.
And long story short, he gets bitten by a werewolf. In this version of werewolf mythology, he doesn't age. He goes home and tries to make his life with this new condition work. But eventually, he leaves town for 25 years, only to come back and attend the same school, pretending to be his own son. That's honestly a lot to unpack in 93 minutes. Larry Cohen said about this film, "It's more than a comedy. It has some interesting ideas about how life in America has changed, sexually and politically, since the early 60s. All of Arkin's friends have changed, but he hasn't. And whereas he changes into a werewolf all the time, his friends change into middle-aged people while he is gone, with different values and different ideas. They change as much as he does, actually. And those are some of the highlights for me. The sexual and political differences. It has a message. I almost wish it was more of a time travel movie, or something akin to that. as the werewolf side of the story doesn't really seem necessary. The werewolf within doesn't mean much here. It doesn't further Tony's inner journey. It just complicates his life, and even by the end, I'm not sure this side of the story has a conclusion. This had the opportunity to be a kind of reverse Back to the Future. It makes a lot of the same points, generationally, to be honest. Cohen has stated he was inspired by I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and oddly, Teen Wolf would do this again just a few years later. But was the werewolf bit necessary to the story? I don't know. There's so much potential here, and to be honest, that potential is completely wasted. We as horror fans like to champion movies that we know aren't the best. Case in point is a video I did talking about why you should see Jason Takes Manhattan. I absolutely know it's not a good movie, but I think it has redeeming qualities people don't notice. When it comes to Full Moon High, I'm sure there are some people out there that have those same feelings, and also think it's misunderstood. And please, head to the comments and let us know what we're missing. Keep it classy though. Comment sections are their own horror stories these days.
Not that yearbook again, Jane. Wearing out the pages.
Oh, Jack, where did the time go? How did we let it slip away? And one day, you changed.
Please don't start on that again, all right, please?
Well, it's easy for you to say. You always looked old.
I'll admit, this movie's a blast to watch from a certain standpoint. And hey, if you're so inclined, it's currently on YouTube as I'm making this video, so go check it out. Also, there are some caricatures that just don't fly very well these days. Back in 1981, it was totally fine, and people found it funny to have a lisping, obviously gay coach that keeps attempting to sleep with the male students. I can give it a pass because it's a product of its time, and I find those things oddly fascinating. Like a barometer for how far we've come.
Here comes old Rabass again.
Hey, Tom, nice can, kid. Thank you. Oh, whoops.
Well, almost all used up anyway, sir.
They all run out of here like I had the plague or something.
Still hits cringeworthy to see anyway. I also don't believe the movie is self-aware enough, if your defense is that Cohen was attempting to break that cliché. It was far too common in far too many movies back then. For me, the big flaw in the movie is that it doesn't commit to its own comedy. Airplane came out in 1980, and I'd measure a guess that it played a role in what this movie was attempting to do. Comedy with a bite, slapstick with weight, social commentary with a chuckle.
How about Buddhism? Of Jerry's kids? Oh yeah. Scientology? Or nuclear power?
Full Moon High knew what it wanted to be, as did Airplane, but the same commitment wasn't there. The jokes were there, and only a few times does this movie rise to meet them. There's some great one-liners and scenes in Full Moon High that I did laugh at, I'll give it that.
This is simply a shot to put you to sleep, so that when I skin you, it will not be unbelievably painful.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Shoot him, Bennett.
And I did appreciate its attempt at what it was trying to comment on, the Cold War and the sexual revolution. The nuggets of something formative were there. Some of you see it, and some of us don't. I'm still going to watch this from time to time, because I'm a horror fan and that's what I do. So maybe on some repeated viewings, it'll start hitting me right. Thus concludes the Werewolf Movies of 1981. They truly run the gamut between their different styles, conversations, special effects, and legacies. I hope you enjoyed revisiting these as much as I did. Next on my docket is a series on the adaptations based on short stories from Stephen King's Night Shift. As a big King fan, I might have stopped by his house when I lived in Maine. I'm looking forward to this, as I haven't seen some of those movies in a long while. Hope to see you then.